Thank you for coming. About a month and a half ago, I think it was in latter part of July, we had a session together here, and the topic was self-knowledge. And during that presentation, I shared certain thoughts. First of all, that self-knowledge is a uniquely human quality. Other living beings don't engage in self-knowledge. They're wise. Because getting involved with self-knowledge is a difficult task. And many people try to avoid the process of self-knowledge. But if we don't have our knowledge of ourselves, then we really live a life that has not been accomplished, hasn't evolved, hasn't developed, because the fundamental sign of life is growth. Every living organism has to evolve and has to grow and has to develop. And in human beings, development takes place on the axis of consciousness. It is the consciousness of human beings that evolves and grows. It is our understanding of ourselves and of our world that determines the way we live and the way we relate and the way we accomplish whatever we accomplish. And therefore, human development is always related to human consciousness. It is the way that our consciousness evolves. So I thought that it would be a good idea to talk a little bit more specifically about this aspect of development of human consciousness. There are many different aspects of it, but we would focus on certain particular aspects of development of human consciousness tonight. And in order to do that, and in order to give a framework to our discussion, I am going to invite you to use your power of imagination and reflect on a few things and keep your imagination focused. I talked with Behruz, whether we had here a projector to show you some PowerPoint so that you wouldn't need to focus so closely, but we didn't have the facilities. So you have to use your power of imagination, and I don't think it hurts to do so. So, the first thing that we want to do is to reflect on what are main human concerns. Just reflect for a moment. What you think are the main human concerns. And to make it simple, think of 3 areas of concerns in your mind that you think are the most prevalent in everyday life that you're concerned about. And as you do that, I share with you what I have concluded. What are the three main human concerns? And then we see whether we have agreement on that, or we come up with very different lists. It seems to me that one of the first of these three concerns is our concern about ourselves. Human beings always are concerned about themselves. We wake up, and as soon as we wake up, we check about ourselves to make sure that we are in one piece, to make sure that the dream the night before, thank God, was a dream, was a nightmare, but wasn't actually happening, or thinking too bad that the dream didn't continue. If it was nice, we begin to reflect on ourselves. We then look after our body. We look after the needs of this body, which is very needy. And we think about what we are going to eat, what we are going to do, how we are feeling, what kind of a pain we have, how our joints, just name it. Concern about self never leaves a human being. And it's good, because we have to be concerned about ourselves. Because if we are not concerned about ourselves, we become careless and lose our health, lose our capacities, all kinds of things. So the first category of concerns that we human beings have is concern about self. And one of the things that we want to do tonight is to see how our concerns about ourselves evolves and develops as we grow in life. Because definitely our concerns about ourselves are different when we are children, when we are adolescents, when we are adult, when we mature and evolve and grow. So that's the first thing, the first category of concerns. The second category of concerns that I think is present at all times in all people is concern about relationships. We constantly are concerned about relationships, our loved ones, and whether we are loved or not loved, whether we have good relationship or not, whether people are thinking good things about us or not, and on and on and on. We constantly are focused on our relationships. And it's not only our relationships with other people, it's our relationship with ourselves. It is our relationship with our environment, with the nature, with the mysteries of life, with God. We have all these relationships, and we are concerned about them. Concern meaning we think about them, we reflect on them, we consider them important. They preoccupy our mind, parts of our mind, and is focused on the self. The other part of the mind is focused on relationships of the self with the other. And again, it would be a good idea to see how our relationships in the course of our lives evolve. The nature of evolution of our relationships. So that's the second category of concerns. Now, the third category of concerns is not something that usually people reflect on. But nevertheless, you're preoccupied with it all the time. And that's concern about time. We are concerned about time. When we are little, we can't wait until we grow up. When we grow up, we do everything to stop getting older. And on and on and on. Time is an ever-present concern in human mind. The whole philosophical ideas of mortality and immortality and life and getting older and whether there is life after this life, all of these revolve around the fact that we human beings are concerned about time. And above all, we know that our times are limited. And therefore we are concerned about it. We try to forget that in many different ways. Try to find the secret of eternal youth. We are trying to make ourselves to think about other things, take drugs, get drunk. Whatever we do, people who run, what do you think they're running after? They're running after time, okay? Yeah, constantly. So these are, in my view, these are the three primary human concerns. Later we will talk to see what were your views also. And it is a very good idea to see how these concerns of human beings develop and evolve and transform in the course of our life. In order to do that, we need to think of another category of issues about human beings. And that is, what are our main powers? What are the main powers of a human being? Okay? Because physical power is an illusionary power. It's not really a power. Physical power, doesn't matter how physically strong you are, something can come and totally take away that power from you, For example, pain can defeat the most powerful person in the world, pain. Just very simple thing. Or a little virus comes and take away all your power. Because the physical power is relative and is also very temporary and very much subject to defeat by other forces. So the powers that we are talking about here is power of our consciousness, because it is the human consciousness that defines our being. Okay? The word consciousness that I use can be interchanged with soul, human spirit, human consciousness. These are all the same. Okay? These are different names, different words, different expressions of the same human reality. Okay? And human soul, or human psyche means soul, of course, has three fundamental powers, which some of you who have been coming to these talks, you have heard me many times to refer to them. Those three human powers are, first, power to know, to understand, to discover. We human beings have this power of understanding. of knowing, of understanding different things. And that's why we go search and do research and do experiment and do all kind of things, because we have this power of understanding of all arts and sciences that we have in this world, are expressions of human power of understanding. That's capacity to know, human knowledge. So that's one category of human power. Another category of human power is the power to feel. We all have feelings, and we have a wide range of feelings. But ultimately, if you think carefully about feelings, you will see that in certain way, all human feelings are reflections of our state of love. The fundamental human emotion, if you wish, is that of love. If our love relationships are positive and creative, then we feel happy, we feel brave, we feel creative, we feel excited. On the other hand, if our relationships are suffering, we feel depressed, we feel angry, we feel resentful, we feel destructive. So these emotions are barometers of our state of love. And the way we love and the way we are loved. Because love relationship is a reciprocal process, you see. And always the two have to go together. And it's impossible to be a human being in a true sense of the word and not to be empowered with love. You see, love is second major category of human powers. And the third one, of course, is human will, decision making, choice. We have the capacity to choose, the capacity to understand the laws of nature and then use them according to our understanding so that it gives us freedom. This is remarkable because it is only human beings can do that. That we, you see, all beings are subject to the laws of existence. For example, law of gravity dictates that the object would come down, right? But we human beings, through our power of understanding and our love of knowledge, discover how we can use the same law of gravity, to fly. This is uniquely human, and it is related to manner in which we use our will. Our will determines what we do with our knowledge and what we do with our love. And our will determines what we do with ourselves, with what we do with our relationships, and what we do with respect to time. We can waste our life, we can use it, we can abuse it, we can do everything. These are all expressions of human will. So here you have 3 categories of human concerns, and then we have these 3 human capacities. Human concerns about self, relationships, and time, and human capacities to know, to love, and to will. These together create a table of 9 areas. Okay? Now, it's very difficult to keep those 9 areas in mind. But I share with you just 1 or 2 of those to see how this evolution of self-knowledge, understanding of ourselves, take place. Let's first think about self and knowledge, concern about self and human capacity for knowledge. Okay? So reflect on life of children. You will see that the life of children live a life that at the beginning, the first stage, is the stage of self-experience. One of the first things that the children do, they experience themselves. They experience the breathing, the sucking, the crying, the movements of different parts of their body. That's the first knowledge that we develop about ourselves. We begin to experience ourselves, okay? Experience our body, experience that we smile, somebody else smiles back. That when we cry, somebody comes and either hugs us or says, shut up, depending on circumstances, okay? We begin to experience things in life, and we begin to realize the second category that we will talk about it, But then, once we experience something, we also then gradually, as children, as we grow up, we begin to have discovery of our powers. Not only that we realize that we have a hand, but also we realize that we can use this hand to hold on something. We have feet, experience our feet, but then we realize that also we can walk on them. With eyes, we can see. With our voice, we can communicate. So we go from self-experience to self-discovery. We begin to discover our capacities, our abilities. We gradually discover our ways of thinking, discover how to talk, discover how to communicate, discover how to learn, how to play instruments, and on and on and on. These are periods of self-discovery, and never it ends. Self-discovery never ends. We constantly discover new things about ourselves. But then something comes after discovery, and that is when we begin to understand ourselves, understand our experiences, understand the discoveries that we do, and understand how they work, and understand what we can do about them. So we constantly add to our understanding about ourselves, not only physically, but also with respect to our emotions, with respect to our thoughts, with respect to our capacities, with our desires, with everything. So we constantly discover and understand new things about ourselves. Okay? So that's the way that the concern about self and the capacity to know work together. Now, let's take the notion of concern about self and then go down to concern about relationship. In relationships, also, we go through stages of different understanding about relationships. Children, when they come to this world, for them is that all people are the same. The newly born children consider everybody the same. Okay. They don't make distinction. However, soon that changes. Usually it is said that in about 3 months' time, the child begins to discover that the people are unique. We start with the sameness of people. People are the same. And then we go to realizing that people are different. People are unique. And many people stop at that level. They never go beyond the level that people are different. Okay? And even they try to make people the same again. The whole notion of melting pot that we had in the United States. You know, the United States is a very interesting country because the United States started with the notion that we are the chosen people. We are the greatest. And that we have come here and we all are going to become American. Okay? Whether we are from Ireland or from Norway or from here or there or whatever, we become Americans, melting pot. Okay? Well, they tried it, tried and cooked the society to the extent possible. Those that they didn't like, they put them aside, like the blacks, like the Aboriginal people, for a long time, all women, But eventually, gradually, the things evolved. But people realized that people are not the same. You cannot, people are different, people are unique. So the United States now, when you go to the United States, the way they describe the society, how they describe it, they say, you're African American, you're Persian American, you're Norwegian American, you're Irish American. Doesn't matter who you're divided. You're separated. So the whole country is in the second level of understanding of human beings and relationships, which is correspondent with the mindset of adolescence. The mindset of childhood, we are all the same. Mindset of adolescence is that we are all different. Okay? Canada is the same, only in a different way. We call it multiculturalism. Right? Now in Quebec, they are trying to make everybody the same. Right? Remove all the, signs of, cross and this and that, make yourself the same. It's very interesting. This has been the dilemma of human relationships, trying to understand human relationships. We either want to be the same or we want to be different. And these are the levels of development of human consciousness at the level of childhood and adolescence. Eventually, we have to reach the next level of understanding of human relationships. And that next level of understanding of human relationship is the unity in relationships. Unity in the context of diversity. Meaning, we are all the same and we are all unique. We are the same because we are human beings. Because we all have the same powers of knowledge, love, and will. We all have the same soul, the same psyche. We all have similar concerns about self, relationships, and time. We all are born and we all die. We are the same in our humanness. But the manner in which we reflect our humanness is unique. And this is the level of a maturation of a society and of human beings, which we haven't achieved yet. The whole world right now is in the second level. We are all different. Not even that we are all unique. We are all different. And different means that some are better than others. You see, that's the mindset, the thinking that's going on. That's why there is so much conflict in this world. You see, so much conflict. And this reflects in the relationship between men and women, between parents and children, between different segments of races and religions and groups, the whole thing. So you see how power of understanding, human knowledge, affects the way we understand human relationships. And how we can focus, therefore, our attention on how can we develop, further advance our understanding of the dynamics of human relationships. From sameness, the dictatorial societies, they try to make everybody the same. Okay? From sameness to differentiation and diversity to unity in diversity. The unity in diversity is what humanity needs, is the next stage in development of human understanding of dynamics of relationships. But that's a process that has to come. We are not yet there, you see. And that's very interesting because in the Baha'i writings, one of the interesting issues that emerges is that all the teachings of the Baha'i faith, when you reflect on it, you will see they are aimed at helping people to understand that humanity is one. There is only one humanity. And the oneness of humanity is expressed in diversity. These two seemingly opposite conditions, actually they are the two sides of the same coin. There is only one race of humanity, and this race of humanity, people express their humanness in diverse way, both physically and in terms of habits and in terms of culture, and in terms of language, and in terms of relationships and so forth. We are the same and we are different. We are one and diverse at the same time. This is the fundamental challenge for us. As we grow and mature individually and collectively, we have to reach to that level. For example, one of the expression of that is the movement towards equality of women and men. Another expression of that is the movement towards equality of all races and all religions, of the whole issue of human rights. These are all new issues. These are the issues that have come to the consciousness of humanity during the last 150 years or so. Okay? And they are all issues of dawn of maturation of humanity. See, in the Baha'i writings, it is said that we are at the dawn of maturation of human societies and human consciousness. And therefore, everything is changing. Then, We go down that column of knowledge and human concerns. First was the knowledge of self. Second was the knowledge about relationships. Then comes the knowledge about time. What is our understanding about time? And that is very interesting because I'm sure all of us have experienced it. At the earliest level, our approach and understanding of time is focused, is operating in the context of the present. Okay? We are thinking about here and now. Children live in the present, right? And that's nice to live in the present, you know. They have very little concern about the future and very little remembering of the past unless it has been traumatic. Okay? Otherwise, children under normal circumstances focus on the present, here and now. But then things begin to happen in life. We begin to experience separations. We begin, we are not always in the state of union with our parents and our loved ones. The child is separated from the mother and the loved one. And the child begins to feel anxiety. And the child begins to experience the process of loss and becomes very preoccupied with the fear of loss. Loss of the loved one, separation from the loved one. And this makes the child very preoccupied about the time. How long would it take for mother to come back? How long would it take for me to be back home? How long would take? The time becomes the major concern because it's the whole issue of reunion and separation. And the whole issue of when you reach it, put it in a more philosophical thinking, when more advanced thinking, becomes the issue of concern about mortality. As we grow up, we begin to become concerned about that we are going to die. People around us begin to die. And we begin to realize that this life is not forever. And that is a very difficult realization. And that's why most people do everything possible not to think about their mortality. Do everything possible not to think about it. Because they fear that the mortality means becoming nothing. And of course, we cannot imagine us become nothing. We are something. How is it possible that something becomes nothing? Okay? So we experience ourselves, we know ourselves, and it becomes extremely difficult. And we struggle with that. And many of the struggles of the society is the whole issue of dealing with the mortality and the whole question of then the next level of the development is understanding of the immortality of human soul. But that becomes a spiritual phenomenon, And many people say, I don't believe in that. You see, I don't believe in. But as soon as we get caught in that process of thinking that we are going to become nothing, then we have only two possible choices. Either become obsessed with death. We are going to become nothing, become obsessed with death. And we try to do everything possible to avoid it. Okay? Or we become fascinated with death. And we try to challenge it. And these are the two conditions that you see in the world right now. The violence, human violence, is an expression of human psyche not having been able to come in full understanding and acceptance of death on the one hand, mortality, and immortality on the other hand. So the more human society becomes secular, the more violent it becomes. Okay? It is really amazing how it becomes more and more violent. First World War, Second World War, these greatest wars of human history, they have taken place during the time that human beings have lost their faith in religions. They have rejected religions. Or they have secularized their religions. They haven't taken the sacred out of the religion. When you take the sacred out of religion, you have a lot of rituals. You have a lot of moral statements. You have a lot of extreme beliefs that would justify destruction and death. We see it in religious wars. We see it in jihad. We see it in the fundamentalist thinking of religions. These are when religion uses its sacredness, its sacred dimension, it becomes secularized. And when religion becomes secularized, it becomes very fundamentalist. And the fundamentalism, whether it's religious or ideological, always brings with it extreme levels of activity which usually are negative and violent. These are the kind of things we see in our world today. You see? And also the kind of education that we are giving our children is an education that constantly reminds them that tells them that death is not a reality. You know, Bugs Bunny. This Bugs Bunny is amazing, okay? The child sits there, watches the Bugs Bunny. All kind of things come, jumps on him, bangs on it. Rocks come from the sky and falls on it. Bugs Bunny comes out of it, okay? Today Bugs Bunny dies. Tomorrow Bugs Bunny again is up and around. And the child sits there and says, okay, at worst, violence kills somebody temporarily. At worst. Okay? And at best, you can be victorious over death. Therefore, violence is okay. It's amazing how our children are being raised. And all these games that they play, they are games of violence, the games of death. A society that doesn't believe in immortality of human beings, of human soul. That society invariably becomes violent. And this is what's happening. In the human psyche turns on itself. Human soul turns on itself. And this is what is happening in our world today. that's the reason that the more we lose our contact with the spiritual dimension of religion, the further our societies disintegrate. Religion, first of all, there is only one religion of God. There are not many religions. Religion is renewed. There is one God, there is one religion, and this religion is renewed according to the needs of humanity. And one of the fundamental teachings of religion is that we human beings are on a journey of eternity. And this life is the first stop or second stop, if you want to separate the life in the womb and life in this world, which is a good idea. The second stop in this ongoing journey of human reality. Every one of us is on a journey of eternity. Every one of us. And like any other journey, we have to prepare ourselves. We have to know, first of all, where is the destination? Where do we want to go? And second, what are the requirements for getting to that destination? What kind of resources we need to get there? And what is the map to get there? These are the kind of things that a religion should offer. A true religion would offer the necessary map and necessary guidance for human individual to fulfill the journey of life in this world to the fullest and the most complete way possible, so that upon entering to the next phase of our journey of our soul, of which we know nothing, we will be as prepared as possible. And the only things that we can take to the next world are those qualities of consciousness and soul that are not material, that we can take with ourselves. The manner that our love has evolved. The manner that our power to know has evolved. The manner that we have used our will for the service of our love and knowledge. You see, these are the things that we can take with ourselves. I recently read a little joke. This person died and entered at the next world. And this was a Christian world. So St. Peter was there. And St. Peter said, hello, welcome. I said, thank you. And the guy had 2 big suitcases with him. He said, what are those? He said, well, I lived all my life. And everything that I did in my life, the result of it are in these 2 suitcases. So if I can't bring my suitcases here, these things that are in my suitcases, then my life would have been totally wasted. So I beg you to let me to bring the suitcases with me to the next one. And St. Peter talked with a few angels around there. He said, what do you think? They said, well, let him, poor guy, has lived all his life, and these are the results of his life. Put it in this suitcase, and let him bring it in. So he comes in. And they open the gates, and he comes in. And there are 2 stages, apparently. And the next a set of guards. They said, what are these? They said, well, St. Peter said, I can bring it. They said, okay, you can bring it in, but we have to look at them. So they opened it, and they were full of gold. Okay. Gold. 2 suitcases filled with gold. And they began to laugh, those guards. So why laughing? So well, these are the sands in the next world. The next world, the sand on the streets and everything is gold, So you have brought sand here, So that's the notion, What are we taking to the next world? Are we taking 2 suitcases full of sand? Or what is it that is required for next level of existence? So this is one column of the 9 columns, of the 3 main columns that I mentioned, that I said imagine it. So because it has been difficult, I prepared some photocopy of all of these that I give it to you, and I hope we have enough for everybody. If not, you have a photocopy here. We can go to. I think we have enough, but if the families take one, probably it would be enough. But anyway, this is the issue that I first wrote about in 1992, so it would be 21 years ago, in this book called The Psychology of Spirituality. You see, 1993 actually was a very interesting year for me. I had just retired from psychiatry after 30 years of practice. My wife and I said, well, it's about time to retire. So we left Toronto. We came to beautiful Victoria. If you want to retire, you go to Victoria, right? And came to Victoria, and we rented a really beautiful house. And it just was fantastic. And my retirement lasted 9 months. And that 9 months gave birth to this book. Okay. And then we were invited to go to Switzerland, and that another era started. So I'm now in the, about 18, 19 years of that second job. So I retire in 11 years, and then see what happens after that. Another book. So anyway, in Psychology of Spirituality, which I describe this phenomenon quite a bit in this book. And this is one of the books that people apparently liked because it has been reprinted many times, but also translated and published in quite a number of languages, including Chinese and Arabic and Farsi and Spanish and French, and people. So the issue of development of human concerns and human powers and how they are related to each other is described in full in this book. Okay, dear friends, thank you very much. Yeah.